Before we get started, please go over to Amazon.com and grab a copy of my book, Education and Justice. If you have an African-American son in public school, you need this book because I teach you the many ways that public schools mistreat African-American boys and what you can do to help your son. So go over there and get your copy immediately. I've not heard many people talk about what I'm going to discuss in this video. So somebody got to do it. Somebody got to speak out against the blatant and bold selective enforcement of civil rights coming from the Trump administration. Now, before I get into it, let me say emphatically that I reject any form of anti-Semitism. Again, I reject any form of anti-Semitism. Third time, I reject any form of anti-Semitism. So this video is not about dismissing anti-Semitism. What it does is exposes how the Trump administration is applying civil rights enforcement selectively. The Trump administration is vigorously cracking down on anti-Semitism across various universities. But here's the truth. Anti-Black hate crimes are much higher. Yet Trump has launched zero federal actions to protect Black people generally and Black students specifically. In fact, Trump's own policies are awash in anti-Blackness. So what I'm going to show you in this video is the data, the double standard, and what this means for civil rights enforcement. So let's get into it. Let's start with the facts. According to the FBI's 2023 hate crime report, there were 11,634 total hate crimes. 3,421 were anti-Black. 3,421 were anti-Black. 1,124 were anti-Jewish. That means anti-Black hate crimes were nearly triple in 2023 for Blacks than anti-Jewish hate crimes. All right, 3 times as much anti-Black hate crimes than Jewish hate crimes. Now let's look at growth. Anti-Black hate crimes rose by 7%. Anti-Jewish hate crimes rose by 63%, a greater increase. Yes, anti-Semitism is rising fast. But in raw numbers, anti-Black hate is still greater. Despite this, Trump has done nothing about anti-Black hate crimes. No task force, no executive orders, no civil rights crackdowns. Again, he himself has promoted anti-Blackness. You may ask, well, how? How do you say that? Well, in his anti-DEI policies, in his firing of Black leaders and defunding Black history, shutting down or redirecting civil rights enforcement away from anti-Blackness, and so much more. Now, let's look at what Trump has done to reinforce this racist double standard. In January 2025, he signed an executive order, and it directed the Department of Education and the Department of Justice to investigate anti-Semitism on campuses. But there was no mentioning of anti-Blackness. He created a national task force, and he threatened to cut billions in federal funding. All right, so let's name some of these universities. Columbia University faced a threat to freeze about $400 million. And we've all seen him threaten Harvard with all types of cuts. In fact, Harvard has already lost billions of dollars in a freeze from the Trump administration. Federal civil rights complaints were launched against Northwestern, UC Berkeley, University of Minnesota, Portland State, and others. Trump called it all civil rights enforcement. However, justice was not his focus, because if so, there's no way he could leave out anti-blackness. So what is his focus? His focus is power, silencing DEI, and controlling universities. Now ask yourself this: where is the federal task force to fight anti-black racism on campus and in America, in an American society broadly? Where is the executive order protecting us African Americans from anti-blackness? Especially since I just showed you that we are attacked more than everyone. Where are the investigations? Where are the executive orders? Where are the funding freezes for schools that allow anti-blackness to protect us? They don't exist, even though anti-black hate crimes are higher, right? Even though black students report racial harassment daily, we get a lot of calls here in our office. And Trump knows these numbers. So their silence is intentional, and it sends a message. What's that message? Well, it says that some forms of hate matter more than other forms of hate. And the consequence is black students are left unprotected. Black people generally. Now, let's be clear again. I said it at the beginning of this video. I want to stress it again. Anti-Semitism is real. I'm not dismissing it. It's evil. We as African Americans know better than anyone how awful hate is. And that's why I condemn it, and I know African Americans across the country condemn it. But this is not equal justice. This is anti-black selective enforcement coming from the Trump administration. Trump is using anti-Semitism to punish his political enemies. He's attacking elite universities. All of this is a part of Project 2025. He's undermining racial equity programs. He's defunding civil rights. And he's ignoring anti-black hate, which encourages more of it. So he's not really trying to protect students. Instead, he wants to suppress voices, especially black voices, especially black-led movements, especially the truth about black history, American history, about the systemic racism and white supremacy that has been a deep part of America's history and still continue to this day. So what do? I always like to leave you with what we can do, what action steps we can take. Number one, we got to demand equal protection. If there's a task force for anti-Semitism, then we got to demand that there be a task force for anti-black hatred. And we got to demand that the White House itself stops its anti-black policies. Number two, we got to expose the hypocrisy. It is blatant hypocrisy. So help me by sharing this video, calling out this evil, this selective civil rights enforcement. We got to push for accountability. And we also need to organize. We need to organize on college campuses. We need to organize in our communities. We need to be organized because we got to fight for real justice. If we don't stand up and be loud and be seen, we see what happens. The funding, the efforts, the enforcement, they go to somebody else who doesn't need it as bad as we do. All right? So we got to say no selective civil rights enforcement. Enforce civil rights for everyone. And we've already seen this White House, this Department of Justice, we've already seen them end consent decrees. We have seen them drop certain civil rights cases. We have seen them close various civil rights offices and use what is left of those offices and enforcement for anti-Semitism or reverse discrimination, and completely dropped civil rights enforcement to protect African Americans, although I just showed you the numbers prove that we, African Americans, are the greatest victims of racial hate. So what we need to be demanding is justice for all, or justice for none. Don't leave us out, because ignoring anti-Blackness, that's a choice. And we got to say, we're not going to be silent about it. Trump's war on universities has nothing to do with safety. Again, as I've pointed out several times already, it's about power, it's about control. It's really a part of Project 2025. So while he claims to protect civil rights, he's actually ignoring the group most targeted by racial hatred in this country, and that's us, Black people. So speak up, folks. And as I always say, stay woke. I am Reverend and Civil Rights Attorney Augustus Corbett. Thank you for watching this video.